Alright, so the other day I was looking on Party Finder and I glanced over to the Variant and Criterion Dungeon tab. It was empty. There was no one looking for Criterion Dungeon groups, which got me thinking, whatever happened to those? I remember being pretty excited for these when they were announced, and the community along with me was very curious to see Square's interpretation of high-end dungeon content akin to Mythic Plus in World of Warcraft. And then 6.25 came, and it went. And we just kind of forgot about them. So what happened? Well, I think it's pretty obvious from all the prior controversy, but the rewards... Criterion dungeons were clearly made with the idea that players would be repeating them. You know, you get currency from clearing that goes towards rewards. Rewards like another throne mount, adventure plates, and materia. Why would anyone spend time doing Criterion dungeons or progging the Savage version when the rewards are this bad? One common counter I hear is that players should be doing the content for fun, no matter the reward. And you know what? That's fair. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Fun is always a factor, but take into consideration the difficulty of the content. Even the base difficulty isn't easy and takes a good amount of coordination and skill. And also take into consideration the fact that this is an MMORPG. Players like to have that carrot to chase. There's a reason so many players still do ultimates, even the older ones. They want the cool weapon glamour. Now, one thing I personally wouldn't like is if they included gear rewards. And this is something I've seen the community split on, so let me know what you think, but in my opinion, I think adding gear rewards to Criterion dungeons is a bad idea. That's because it creates this sense of obligation to do the content, especially if that gear is better than the usual Savage gear. However, I acknowledge I could be wrong in that regard, because you never really know what the community's reaction is going to be to something until you put it in front of them. What I would suggest to help Criterion dungeon rewards is to double down on the cosmetic side of things. Yes, give us the currency and the obligatory title, but also give us more. Add worthy rewards, not quite on par with the ultimate weapons, but in the same vein. I think mounts are fine, but they have to be better than the throne. Glamours are also valid, something thematic with the dungeon. Again, in the same vein as the ultimate weapons. But the bottom line is, while yes, the primary motivator should be fun, at the end of the day, in any MMO, players want cool rewards. They like setting goals and then being able to show off the fruits of their labor. For a lot of players, half the fun is AFKing in Limsa with their cool glamour and watching the Sprouts and Spectre. However, there is a bit more to this all, and that's the general lack of updates when it comes to this form of content. Past is pretty old as far as the time flow of MMORPGs goes, and I might have missed something, but I haven't heard a ton about any new Criterion dungeons. It's reasonable to assume that they're working on it, and any reasonable player would assume that every other 0.5 patch will get a new one, which sounds fairly reasonable, but for the size of the content, I think going forward, once they actually refine it, the pace should hopefully pick up. But yeah, personally, I still think looking at the raw gameplay of Criterion dungeons are pretty fun. They ended up feeling like mini raids to me that stems from most of their time being spent in front of the bosses. I think having that extra form of content that can be done with a group of 4 is really important. I see Criterion dungeons as something that should be done in the same way as ultimates are, as that extra challenge that you can take with your friends. The only difference being that change in group size and completion time. But at this point, I'm just rambling. Be sure to watch this video on screen. Thank you for watching and take care.